Okay, we have a wonderful quotation from the captain, sometimes called a sergeant, about Macbeth. So Macbeth has just won an heroic victory for King Duncan. Macdonald rebelled against Duncan and Macbeth defeated Macdonald, sort of highlighting this kind of violent warrior society that Scotland was embroiled in at this time, in fact much of Europe, and you can read some of that in the context box down the bottom. So let's have a look at this quotation. Like Valor's minion, I love this. So Valor is to be brave, and it's personified here as if Valor is a kind of a person or even a god. And minion, like the minions, means kind of sidekick. So it kind of suggests that Macbeth is Valor's sidekick. It almost elevates him to this sort of mythical godlike status. If Valor was a god, Macbeth would be right by their side. Which kind of, I guess, suggests that Macbeth is almost mythological in his heroism at this point. He's almost a godlike warrior. Another interpretation of this, and you can talk about both, is actually, though, does this just mean he's always someone's sidekick? He's manipulated by the witches. He's manipulated by his wife. Is he really ever his own man? So that's another way of looking at this. Now, I don't think that's certainly true towards the end of the play, but it is an interpretation you might want to talk about. So Valor's minion carved out his passage. Now what this is giving us some imagery first of him fighting his way through the army till he meets Macdonald. It's like that scene in those movies, isn't it, where the soldier with the sword slashes his way through all these kind of people that you don't care about dying till he faces the true enemy at the back of the army. And that's exactly what Macbeth has done here, and Shakespeare's created that imagery right here. So this word carved, I think, is especially good. It's a verb that kind of suggests that either Macbeth is like a butcher, and it seems so easy, it's like he's just tearing up meat. They're not really soldiers fighting back, it's just like a butcher taking his knife through some meat. Or even better, I think, another interpretation is carved could be like a sculptor, like sculpting wood. Almost like Macbeth makes war look like art, like he's an artist of war, which again is quite a nice little thing to talk about. So yeah, carved is a really great word to talk and discuss about there. We've then got till he faced the slave. The slave is Macdonald. Now, a slave is a pretty bad insult when it comes to Shakespearean insults. It's not something you'd want to be called, and you'd probably take a swing at the bloke who called you it. So, yeah, Macdonald is a slave. And the reason I highlighted this word as well is not just because it's an insult, but because this is something that Macbeth is called towards the end of the play. So when he's called a slave at the end of the play because he's, killed Duncan, killed Macduff's family, etc., it shows that this has gone really full circle. If you want, and you want to be really clever, he's also called a butcher at the end. And you can talk and maybe link it about calf there. So some really good cyclical language, some language that comes around in a circle here. And what's he done? Well, he's unseamed him from the nave to the chops. And again, this is some other quality imagery here. You got Macdonald stood in front of him. He doesn't even get a chance to say goodbye. Macbeth is so quick. And he's unseamed him from the nave to the chops, from basically the belly button all the way up through his chin. He's cut him in half lengthways. A brutal, violent image, which again tells us about warrior culture in Scotland. Just there, I won't go through them all, but in the link quotes box in red there, you've got lots of quotes that also show Macbeth is incredibly brave and shown as a hero at this point in the play.